So there we were, humanity's finest diplomats, standing on the bridge of the diplomatic endeavor, the most impressive ship Earth had ever built. Captain Eliza Chen had practiced her "We Come in Peace" speech for weeks. The United Nations had spent billions on translation software. We'd even brought gifts, art, music, and some fancy bottles of scotch, because honestly, who doesn't love scotch? And then the aliens took one look at us and collectively lost their shit. "They're leaking," screamed the Vosian ambassador, a delicate blue-skinned creature with 4 eyes and what appeared to be gills. "The pink ones are secreting fluids from their facial orifices." Jack Murphy, Earth's diplomatic attaché, wiped sweat from his brow. It was hot in the formal diplomatic uniform, and the alien ship maintained an atmosphere that felt like a sauna. "It's just perspiration," Murphy explained. "It's how we regulate body temperature." This explanation did not help. At all. "They excrete toxins directly through their skin," the Vosian shrieked to his colleagues. 3 of the alien delegates promptly fainted. Things only got worse when Lieutenant Santos sneezed. The resulting panic took 3 hours to contain. By the time everyone calmed down, Earth's delegation had learned several important facts. 1. Humans were the last intelligent species to join the Galactic Confederation, which consisted of 27 civilizations spread across the Orion Arm. 2. Most species evolved in stable environments with few predators, developing along peaceful, cooperative lines. 3. Earth, with its hyperactive tectonic activity, wild climate swings, mass extinction events, and absolutely ridiculous number of apex predators, had produced something the galaxy had never seen before, a species that didn't just survive catastrophe but seemed to thrive on it. "Let me get this straight," Murphy said, pinching the bridge of his nose. "You think we're monsters?" "Your kind can ingest neurotoxins for pleasure," whispered the Andoran representative, referring to the coffee Murphy was drinking. "You deliberately expose yourselves to radiation to change your skin pigmentation. You insert metal through your flesh as decoration. You practice ritualized combat for entertainment. You—" The alien paused, trembling. "You remove parts of your visual organs with your fingers and touch the mucous surface directly." Murphy blinked. "You mean contact lenses?" "Dear merciful cosmos," shrieked 3 aliens simultaneously. It admitted it. Murphy sighed. First contact was not going as the training manuals had suggested. 6 months after the disastrous first contact, Jack Murphy found himself summoned to the Confederation Embassy on Earth. The massive crystal structure had been erected in Geneva, Switzerland, a location chosen because the aliens found mountains comfortingly oppressive, compared to the terrifying openness of plains. Ambassador Thulans, a spindly creature with translucent skin that revealed pulsating internal organs, greeted Murphy with what passed for their species' version of a smile, a slight vibration of their central air sac. "Human Murphy," Thulans began, "we face an unprecedented situation. The Drakari Collective has broken the 10,000-year peace. They have seized 3 outer systems and threatened the trade routes of 7 species." Murphy nodded politely. Earth had been briefed on the conflict but told it was a minor dispute that would be resolved diplomatically. "What does this have to do with humanity?" he asked. Thulans' skin took on a pinkish hue, apparently their version of embarrassment. "The Confederation's defensive forces are insufficient." "You don't have an army," Murphy translated. "We have peacekeepers," Thulans protested. "But they are trained in conflict resolution, not war," Murphy suggested. The ambassador's skin went from pink to nearly white. "Please do not use that barbaric term in my presence without warning." Murphy sighed. "Sorry. Continues conflict despite reasonable alternatives?" "Yes, that." Thulans composed themselves. "The Confederation Council has voted. We wish to hire humans as our defensive specialists." Murphy stared. You want us to fight your war for you. We want you to be your natural selves in a directed capacity that coincidentally resolves our diplomatic impasse through applied evolutionary aberration. You want us to be monsters. Xel Thorne's air sac inflated dramatically. You said it, not me. The following week, the United Nations Security Council met in emergency session. The alien proposal was simple. In exchange for humanity's defensive assistance, Earth would receive advanced technology in medicine, energy production, and faster-than-light travel scientific advancements that would have taken US centuries to develop independently. Let me make sure I understand, said the Chinese representative. They're terrified of us because we can eat spicy food and do extreme sports, and now they want to use that fear as a weapon? That's essentially correct, Murphy replied. And they'll give us technology that will solve climate change, energy shortages, and most diseases. Yes. Because we crack our knuckles and they find that horrifying, among other things. The Security Council's vote was unanimous. Operation Human Monster was approved, and recruitment began immediately. The Galactic Confederation's training facility orbited Proxima Centauri b, chosen for its relative proximity to Earth and its non-traumatizing gravitational conditions for the alien instructors. 3,000 human volunteers arrived on transport ships, eager to become the galaxy's first interspecies fighting force. Drill instructor KL Vex, a methane-breathing hexapod with chitinous armor, watched in horror as Mika Takahashi, a former MAA fighter from Osaka, completed the obstacle course. She just kept going. KL Vex whispered to his assistant. She fell from a height of 3 body lengths, experienced obvious tissue damage, and then continued as if nothing happened. Humans call it walking it off, the assistant explained, reading from the xenobiology briefing. They can suppress pain signals and continue functioning despite injuries that would incapacitate most species. That's not natural, KL Vex hissed. And what is she doing now? Takahashi had reached the refreshment station and was dumping water over her head, laughing as it soaked her training uniform. Some kind of religious purification ritual, the assistant guessed. Across the training facility, similar scenes played out as alien instructors discovered the full range of humanity's monstrous traits. Private Jenkins held his breath for over 2 minutes during underwater training, causing his Aquarian instructor to file a report about terrifying oxygen storage capabilities. Sergeant Rodriguez ate a jalapeno pepper as a snack, leading 3 alien observers to require psychological counseling after witnessing a being willingly consume chemical weaponry. Lieutenant Clark performed push-ups until exhaustion, displaying what the medical report described as disturbing voluntary muscle microprogramming techniques. By the end of the first month, the training regimen had been redesigned completely. Instead of teaching humans how to fight, which they already seemed disturbingly good at, the program focused on teaching them which of their natural behaviors caused maximum psychological impact on enemy species. You mean I get paid extra to crack my knuckles during negotiations? Asked Corporal Davis during the specialized psychological warfare class. The sound of your skeletal components deliberately grinding against each other is classified as an aggression display of the highest order, confirmed the instructor. 1 cracked knuckle is a warning. 2 is a direct threat. 3 or more constitutes a war crime under Confederation law. Mika Takahashi, who had been promoted to human behavior specialist, developed an entire combat doctrine around ordinary human activities. Yawning, displaying teeth in a threat gesture, became a standard intimidation technique. Humming, creating unsettling vibrations, was classified as a pre-attack warning. Laughter was reserved for only the direst circumstances, as it had caused mass surrender in 3 simulation exercises. I still don't understand, Takahashi said to Jack Murphy, who had been appointed as liaison between the human forces and Confederation command. We're not doing anything special. This is just being human. Murphy shrugged. To us, sure. But remember, most species evolved in stable environments where cooperation was the key to survival. Their nervous systems are designed for consensus and harmony. We evolved on a death planet where everything was constantly trying to kill us. We're literally built different. Takahashi grinned, then quickly covered her mouth when a passing alien whimpered at the sight of her teeth. The Drakari Collective had seized control of the Betelgeuse mining outposts, cutting off 40% of the Confederation's rare mineral supply. As diplomatic efforts had failed, the newly formed Human Defense Force was deployed for their first real combat mission. Commander Ortiz addressed the troops aboard the transport ship. Remember your training. The Drakari have never encountered humans before. Our intelligence suggests they're similar to most Confederation species, conflict-averse and consensus-oriented. They've only succeeded in their aggression because the Confederation had no effective defense. Our job is to change their risk calculation. Are we actually going to fight them? Asked a young lieutenant. Ortiz smiled grimly. Only if absolutely necessary. According to our Confederation allies, just the sight of humans being humans should be enough. The HDF ship entered orbit around the mining planetoid. The Drakari, six-limbed arthropodic creatures, had established defensive positions around the main facility. They sent the standard warning communication, withdraw or face consequences. The humans responded by launching drop pods, a combat insertion method that the Confederation had initially refused to believe was real. You voluntarily enter ballistic projectiles and crash them into planetary surfaces. Ambassador Selthorn had asked during the planning session. That is suicidal. We add padding, Ortiz had explained, which somehow didn't help. As the drop pod slammed into the planetoid's surface, the Drakari observers witnessed humans emerging from smoking metal containers, apparently unharmed. Several broke formation immediately and began recording the event on personal devices. The concept of combat selfies had not yet reached the wider galaxy. Look at this, Takahashi shouted, pointing her camera at her face with the Drakari position visible in the background. First alien combat deployment. Mom's gonna freak. The Drakari, observing this bizarre behavior, held their fire, clearly confused by combatants who seemed to be treating a military engagement as a tourist opportunity. Then Private Cooper sneezed. The explosive expulsion of particles, combined with the terrifying facial contortion, triggered a panic response in the Drakari front line. 3 of them dropped their weapons and fled. Others began an alarmed communication frequency that human translators later determined was a warning about biological warfare. Are they retreating because Cooper has allergies? Lieutenant Clark asked in disbelief. The situation escalated when Sergeant Rodriguez opened a ration pack containing beef jerky and began chewing the dried meat in full view of the enemy. It's consuming the preserved flesh of another being as a casual snack during battle. Came the panicked Drakari transmission. These creatures are beyond reasoning. Within 20 minutes, without a single shot fired, the Drakari abandoned their first defensive position. Human forces advanced, some of them recording the retreat while others jogged forward, the rhythmic running motion apparently resembling a traditional Drakari death ritual. By the time the humans reached the main facility, the Drakari commander requested immediate communication. We were not informed that the Confederation had allied with. The translator struggled with the next word before settling on nightmare entities. This violation of standard combat protocols will be reported to the Collective Assembly. Commander Ortiz maintained a neutral expression. We are not nightmare entities. We are humans, representatives of Earth, and new members of the Galactic Confederation. We request your immediate withdrawal from this facility and all other Confederation territories. And if we refuse? The Drakari commander challenged. Ortiz smiled broadly, displaying all her teeth in what humanity considered a friendly gesture but most of the galaxy interpreted as an imminent attack posture. Without breaking eye contact, she took a sip of hot coffee. The Drakari commander visibly recoiled. You are consuming a caustic liquid that would damage your internal organs." "It's delicious," Ortiz replied, taking another deliberate sip. "I might have another cup while we discuss your surrender terms." The Drakari abandoned the outpost within the hour. "They're calling it the Betelgeuse Miracle," Jack Murphy informed the newly assembled Human Strategic Command. Its first combat engagement in Confederation history that ended without a single casualty on either side. Around the briefing table, the senior officers of the Human Defense Force reviewed the after-action reports with a mixture of amusement and disbelief. What had begun as a straightforward military operation had evolved into something altogether different: psychological warfare on a species-wide scale. Commander Dax Blackwood, formerly of British intelligence, presented the new strategic initiative, Operation Boogeyman. "The Confederation has given us access to their xenobiological databases," Blackwood explained, bringing up holographic displays of various alien physiologies. "We've identified specific human behaviors that trigger fear responses in most species. The Drakari, in particular, have evolutionary anxiety responses to certain stimuli that we can exploit." "We're going to scare them into surrendering?" Colonel Vasquez asked skeptically. "Precisely," Blackwood confirmed. "Our research team has compiled a list of human behaviors ranked by psychological impact." The list appeared on the main screen. 1. Consuming spicy food, interpreted as immunity to toxins. 2. Voluntary sleep, interpreted as death rehearsal. 3. Endurance running, interpreted as relentless pursuit predation. 4. Laughter, interpreted as aggression display. 5. Bleeding without stopping activity, interpreted as immunity to damage. "So our battle plan is to eat hot sauce and go jogging?" Lieutenant Clark asked. "In essence, yes," Blackwood replied without a trace of irony. "We're also establishing a galactic information campaign." The next phase of Operation Boogeyman involved carefully crafted leaks about human capabilities. Confederation intelligence operatives with substantial human guidance spread rumors throughout Drakari space. Humans can regrow severed limbs, slightly exaggerated nail and hair growth. Humans can see through solid objects, slightly exaggerated description of X-ray technology. Human young emerge fully formed and instantly mobile, significantly exaggerated description of human birth. Humans periodically shed their outer skin layer, slightly exaggerated description of sunburn. The psychological impact was immediate and profound. Drakari forces began withdrawing from contested systems without engagement. Trade routes reopened. The 10,000-year peace seemed on the verge of restoration. "I can't believe this is actually working," Murphy said during a secure communication with Ambassador Thulans. The ambassador's skin had taken on a healthy blue hue, their species' indication of satisfaction. "The Confederation Council is extremely pleased. Several members have suggested establishing a permanent human defense force as a deterrent against future aggression. So you want to keep us around as your boogeymen?" "I am not familiar with this term." "Monsters that parents use to frighten children into good behavior," Murphy explained. "Be good or the boogeyman will get you." Thorn's skin paled dramatically. "You use fear tactics on your own offspring? You truly are the most terrifying species in the galaxy." Murphy decided not to mention timeout corners or the concept of grounding. The formal surrender ceremony took place aboard the Confederation flagship Harmonious Resolution. The Drakari delegation entered the Grand Chamber with visible trepidation, their eye stalks constantly swiveling toward the human representatives who stood impassively along one wall. Ambassador Thulans presented the peace terms, which were remarkably generous. The Drakari would withdraw from occupied territories, but no reparations were demanded, and their trading rights would be fully restored after a probationary period. The lead Drakari negotiator, Supreme Coordinator Vex Klala, seemed puzzled by the leniency. "We expected more severe consequences," The Confederation seeks harmony, not punishment, Thorn replied smoothly. However, any future aggression will be met with proportionate response. The ambassador gestured subtly toward the human delegation. Commander Ortiz chose that moment to smile politely. 3 Drakari flinched. The peace treaty was signed without further discussion. Afterward, as the various delegations mingled in what humans would recognize as a cocktail reception, Jack Murphy found himself approached by a Drakari diplomat who had consumed the alien equivalent of liquid courage. "I must know," the Drakari said, mandibles clicking nervously. "We intercepted your communications. We studied your deployments. Your forces never exceeded 3,000 individuals, and you never actually engaged in direct combat. Our analysis suggests you could not have defeated our combined fleets in conventional warfare. Yet our leadership surrendered. Why?" Murphy considered the question carefully. "Sometimes the monster you imagine is far more terrifying than any real threat." "But you are not actually monsters," the Drakari pressed. "You are simply different evolutionary responses." "True," Murphy acknowledged. "But here's the thing about humans that truly makes us dangerous. We're adaptable. If scaring you works, we'll be scary. If we actually need to fight, we'll fight. If we need to make peace, we'll do that too. Your analysts were right, we probably couldn't have defeated your combined fleets in conventional warfare, but we never would have fought conventionally in the first place." The Drakari's translator struggled with the next question. "You are saying that the true danger of humans is unpredictability?" Murphy smiled. "From our perspective, we're perfectly logical. We do whatever works. Right now, being your boogeyman works to maintain peace, so that's what we'll be. And if that changes, then we'll change too. That's what makes us monsters." 6 months later, the Galactic Confederation formally inducted Earth as a full member. Humanity's status was unique, simultaneously feared and celebrated throughout civilized space. Human tourism became both a thriving industry and a diplomatic tool. The mere presence of human observation teams was enough to ensure compliance with Confederation guidelines in formerly troubled regions. Jack Murphy, promoted to Earth's ambassador to the Confederation, found a peculiar gift waiting in his new office, a children's book from Ambassador Thorn. The title read, "The Friendly Monsters of Earth, Why They Only Scare Bad People." Murphy laughed out loud, causing a passing alien aide to drop an entire stack of diplomatic pouches in terror. Some things, it seemed, would never change. Humanity had found its niche in the galactic community, not as conquerors or warriors, but as the thing that went bump in the night. The monsters that kept the peace. And honestly, we were pretty good at it.